There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Love, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, and joining me today is the host of the Seize the Yay podcast, Sarah Davidson. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Dars. It's so great to be here.
Good to see you. Now, I know you like to have a quote for each day. Have you got one to kick us off for this afternoon?
I absolutely do. It's quick and sharp. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive.
Well, I like it, Sarah. Very profound. A good way. Good positive vibes to start the show and set the scene for today. Now, we love innovation on the House of Wellness, particularly in medicine. And one of the most exciting recent developments is a new screening tool that diagnoses autism around 3 years earlier than other tests.
It's incredible. Lowering the age of diagnosis will save a lot of pain and angst for parents who had to wait until their child was 3 or 4 years old to be assessed.
We know that early intervention really makes a huge difference in the space of autism. And incredibly, it has an 83% success rate, and it was developed by scientists right here in Melbourne. Another local discovery to add to the list, Sarah.
Breakthroughs in health seem to be coming thick and fast, Dars. This year, Australia is rolling out its first and only cell-based flu vaccine. The traditional flu vaccine is egg-based and has been used for more than 70 years. That is a lot of chooks and eggs.
Sure is. Now, after the past few years of social distancing, we've had border closures, as we know, and a focus on hygiene. Flu rates have been at an historical low. In fact, not one death has been recorded, Sarah, since July 2020, which I find absolutely astounding.
But now that we're all starting to mingle again, it's predicted that the flu will re-emerge.
And as it does, experts will be able to track it and have a clearer picture of how to tackle influenza in the future. Here's epidemiologist Professor Robert Boy to break down what's new with the flu.
Well, the flu vaccine is very effective at protecting you from influenza. That's an annual infection, especially of the respiratory tract, the nose, the throat and the lungs. And it's an infection that's easily preventable by a safe and effective vaccine. The influenza virus is amazing. It's an RNA virus like coronavirus, so it can mutate quite quickly. Even in the course of a week or two, it can change. And sometimes it mutates so fast, it mutates actually in your body while you're sick, and it's multiplying in your body. On average, 3,000 Australians die every year from flu, so it's a disease worth preventing. Because your immunity varies from year to year, it actually wanes, it drops off, and because the virus itself changes, because it mutates, we give a new vaccine every year. Generally, we get between 50 and 70% protection against influenza from influenza vaccination. The vaccine actually covers 4 strains, and each of those can vary year on year, and so each can be altered and updated every year. We have Australian manufacturers and international manufacturers as well, all of them doing a fantastic job. They produce and have done for many decades flu vaccination in Melbourne. It was done by CSL, now called Seqirus, and that vaccine now is available in a new form, which is called cell-derived. That simply means that the virus is now made much more accurately than the way we used to make it. We used to make it in eggs, hen's eggs, and there are still vaccines available made in hen's eggs. But what happens when it's made in a hen's egg is that the virus can mutate. It can change its spots, and it can be slightly different from what you intend it to be in the vaccine. So by growing it in a mammalian cell, you can get an exact copy of what you want to be in the vaccine, consistent with what is recommended by the WHO. When we're developing the vaccine, it's actually grown in dog kidney, what's called immortalised. It's cell line that's been going for years and years and years. So it's not as if an animal has been sacrificed. It's a cell line that's been established for about 50 years, and it's immortalised, so it just keeps dividing. And we use that because it's sterile and because we know we can grow flu virus in it. The new vaccine is likely to be a much better match to what the WHO recommends, and because of that, we may be able to get higher levels of protection than we would otherwise do. It's new technology, it's been proven in millions of people to be safe and effective, so it's something that we welcome. What's happened in the last 2 years is that because of all the restrictions on travel and social behaviour, we haven't had flu seasons for 2 years. And people forgot to get vaccinated last year in 2021, including me. I had my COVID vaccines and forgot to get my flu jab. So there's a lot of people who haven't had a jab in 2021 who should be getting one, and a lot of people who will benefit from the jab because the level of immunity out there is much lower because they've not been exposed since 2019 to a flu virus. The borders have opened up already. People are coming into Australia from the Northern Hemisphere where they've caught flu, and they're bringing flu back to Australia as we speak. So we will see, at least I believe, a moderate season this year in 2022 because there's a lack of immunity in the community and because flu is being brought back in on planes left, right and centre. A large proportion of the population are actually indicated for free to have a flu vaccine. That includes children under 5, Indigenous Australians, pregnant women, people aged 65 and over, and people with a chronic medical problem. All of them can go to a GP or a pharmacist and get a free jab. People in between who want to make sure they don't lose more time from work can get vaccinated at a fairly low cost from a pharmacy or a GP, and it's worthwhile having whether you're a well or an unwell person.
Did you know, Das, that now dating apps even allow you to state your vaccination status and preference when looking for a partner?
I didn't know that, Sarah, but I'm very happy that I'm happily married and not in the market because I think I would be in all sorts of trouble on that. Now, allergies and kids seem to go hand in hand, Sarah, on another note, but one that has a lot of parents worried is an allergic reaction to peanuts. Now, don't miss the groundbreaking treatment that's putting peanut butter back on the menu right after this.
Twin brothers Link and Taj Bradley are just 5 years old, but they've already got a pretty good idea of their favourite foods.
Carrots, apples, bananas, everything.
But while these two can't get enough of their fruit and veggies, many kids their age don't have such nutritious diets, and their health is already suffering.
By the time children are 5 years of age, approximately 1/4 of children are either overweight or obese, and 1/3 of children have had tooth decay.
For the past few years, nutrition expert Dr. Lucinda Bell has overseen a major South Australian study, analysing the link between early eating habits and poor childhood health.
All mothers and their babies born in metropolitan hospitals here in Adelaide in 2013 to 2014 were approached to be involved in the study. And those mothers that consented to be involved completed a questionnaire there and then when their baby was a newborn, and then also again when their child was 3, 6, 12 and 24 months of age, and then again at 5 years of age.
Link and Taj's mum, Claire, was one of 2,000 mothers who participated in the study. As if raising her 4 kids wasn't enough of a handful, for each questionnaire, Claire had to note down every single thing she was feeding her family.
Everything, what sort of meat, what sort of fruit, if they have lollies, ice cream, yogurt, just went forever. Very comprehensive.
So in this data set, we have the dietary data from the 12-month time point when children were 1 year of age, approximately. And we've got by row each food item that they consumed. So this particular participant had some toddler milk, bread, margarine, banana, biscuits, pumpkin, sweet potato, yogurt, pear, cheese and chicken nugget and potato for the day. So in this particular study, we found that most 1-year-olds were eating fruit. However, only half were eating orange and green vegetables over the 3-day period, which we know are really key to a healthy diet. We also found that about 1/3 of the 1-year-olds were eating sugary products such as sugary cakes and biscuits, flavoured yogurts and also processed meat. And we know that this is quite important because they either contain sugar or are high in energy or calories, and these are both key contributing factors to tooth decay and weight gain.
The frequency of tooth brushings
As part of the study, each child also received regular dental examinations. The results were analysed by oral epidemiologist Lok Gyang Do, who found a clear link between kids' diets and a type of tooth decay called early childhood caries.
We have reported that children who had high level of sugar intakes had almost 2 times higher the risk of having early childhood caries at the age of 2 years. In Australia, ECC is a major factor for children being admitted to hospital for treatment under general anaesthetics. So ECC is clearly a public health problem that we need to address.
What our children eat doesn't just impact their short-term health. Research shows that we form most of our food preferences within the first few years of life. So Dr. Bell says it's crucial that parents pay closer attention to what they feed their kids.
What we'd like to see is perhaps some of those key messages around offering a healthy diet to children often and exposing them to healthy foods as often as possible to help increase children's desire to like and taste healthy food. We know that it can be really difficult to get children to eat healthy food, but just to remember that it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Well, these days it's getting harder and harder to throw a kids' party or even cook dinner for some friends, Sarah, with so many allergies around that can be life-threatening.
So many people seem to have an intolerance or an allergy that makes working out a menu that's tasty and safe for everyone pretty tricky.
So I'm a celiac, Sarah. I found out nearly 20 years ago, and I used to hate having to say to someone, you've got to cater for me gluten-free, which is the diet that's required. I don't care anymore. It's so common, it's so easy. Everyone's got something they're taking out of their diet these days. Do you find that?
Absolutely. I've had sensitivities and intolerances, and it's becoming more and more common. So I think now it's just managing that sweet spot.
Well, the most common cause of severe allergic reactions in kids is peanuts.
Around 2% of children are born with a peanut allergy, which is a huge concern for new parents especially. I mean, how do they know until they actually try it?
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. About 20% of kids born with a peanut allergy do actually grow out of it, and scientists are doing all they can to cure the allergy altogether.
Leading the charge is Melbourne's Murdoch Children's Research Institute. Their groundbreaking trials are really bringing hope and peace of mind to parents and their peanut-intolerant offspring.
For the last 5 years, Declan has lived in fear of peanuts.
I don't like peanuts at all.
After eating peanut butter on toast, Declan suffered an anaphylactic episode, sending his mum into a spin.
His lips were all swollen, his eyes were swollen, they were bloodshot, and it was clear that he was having an allergic reaction. So I quickly rang the nurse on call, and she said, this is a medical emergency. You need to go to the nearest emergency department. It's an hour away. Get in the car now and go.
The family was on holiday in remote New South Wales. Declan was just 4 years old.
It was pretty scary. I was very lucky I had my mum with me at the time. So she sat in the back seat with him, monitoring him, because we knew that if it was anaphylaxis, he might start to have difficulties breathing. It was a pretty full-on experience.
You and Dec count out your usual amount and then you can have them in the front room.
Declan's 9 now, and life has changed a lot, especially his relationship with peanuts.
Beautiful. Off you go, Doc.
Declan is in remission.
That's thanks to the Murdoch Children's Research Institute that's developed a radical new treatment called oral immunotherapy.
The way we administer the treatment is to feed a child who's allergic to peanut. Of course, this can cause reactions, so we start at very, very tiny doses, less than 1,000th of a peanut, really, and then we build up the dose over time, in our case, over 4 months, roughly, and we get to a top maintenance dose of 2,000 milligrams peanut protein, which is about 20 peanuts.
Professor Mimi Tang led the team in the world-first trial, designed to build up tolerance by gradually exposing the child to the allergy.
Once they get to that top dose, they continue each day on this dose until a total of 18 months treatment is completed. And that's the treatment course. It's an 18-month therapy of taking a dose every day of the peanut protein.
The children are then tested to see if they're in remission.
Children are thought to be in remission if they pass a diagnostic peanut challenge after they've been off treatment for 8 weeks. So at that point, we are basically saying, we can't show that you've got peanut allergy even though you've been off treatment for 8 weeks.
Declan was one of 200 children aged between 1 and 10 who took part in the 18-month trial, with extraordinary results.
We were very excited to see that half of the children that received this treatment were able to achieve this remission endpoint. But more importantly, another quarter of children who didn't get to the remission endpoint actually were fully desensitised against a standard serve of peanut. Desensitisation is when you increase the amount of peanut someone is able to eat before they have a reaction, but it's a temporary protection. So in order for the kids to stay protected, they have to keep going on a daily dose of treatment.
For the 25% who responded to desensitisation, it's peace of mind for parents if their child accidentally consumes peanuts.
Children who received therapy had a very significant improvement in quality of life. And I think that's probably the most important outcome because that's a measure of what the benefit is to patients in the real world.
And as for Declan?
He is able to have peanuts as regularly as he wants. He doesn't like peanuts, but just to make sure that he's still in remission, we regularly give him peanuts, and for us that means about 10 chocolate peanut M&Ms a week, and we've not had a reaction since.
I'm very relieved now I'm in remission because it goes with M&Ms and I like M&Ms, so it tastes good, so I'm happy with that.
The market is my happy place, Ross. Surrounded by fresh fruit and veggies, it's literally the home of health.
Exactly. A diet is such a big contributor towards our gut health. But probiotics also introduce additional beneficial bacteria to our microbiome.
And we need that balance of good and bad bacteria to keep us healthy and well. These live microorganisms support our gastrointestinal system health and can relieve the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome.
And IBS can affect up to 20% of the Aussie population, and that ain't pretty. From abdominal pains to cramps, gas, bloating, alternating constipation and diarrhea.
Mate, I'm literally just about to have lunch and there goes my appetite.
Mate, it's reality.
Probiotics also support healthy immune system function, protecting against microbial infection and reducing the risk of the common cold in healthy individuals.
They're small but mighty and also found in fermented foods like yogurt and sauerkraut, or available in a convenient high-strength supplement.
Well, now I've got my appetite back, so let's see if we can find some probiotics here at the market.
Let's do it.
Hey, what's your favourite fruit?
Oh, eggplant.
Oh, mate, it's a vegetable. The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy's Pro Spectrum Biotic, a convenient, high-strength, one-a-day formulation to help support healthy bowel and immune system function.
That was Hines and Ross there with a recipe that's got good gut health written all over it. Now, Sarah, you had a bit of a struggle with your health and made a lifestyle switch to get back on track. Now, apart from losing your caffeine addiction, your 10 cups a day you were telling me, what was the biggest change for you?
I think it was a gut parasite. So the biggest change was to my gut. I had a lot of bloating, a lot of stomach issues, a bit of fatigue and a lot of stress around that time. Now I just find best is fresh, a lot of non-bloating, gut-friendly foods. They're the ones that I love.
Sounds like it's working perfectly for you. Now, Hines and Ross mentioned IBS and the grief it can bring. It affects a big chunk of the population. So to help bring some relief, welcome dietitian Rebecca Ponsford. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you. Now, Rebecca, tell us, what is IBS and who does it mostly affect?
Yeah, so IBS is a gut-related condition. So it involves a range of symptoms. That includes things like bloating, abdominal pain, altered bowel habits. That might include constipation or diarrhoea, so things that no one really wants to have. And it can affect almost anyone, but usually those that are diagnosed are women, and usually between the ages of around 25 to 60.
Rebecca, we hear a lot about the FODMAP diet. Can you tell us what that actually is, what it means, and also if it can help people that have IBS?
Yeah, absolutely. So the FODMAP diet actually started all the way back here when the research was developed in Melbourne by researchers from Monash University, and it's really grown exponentially since. So the diet's known worldwide and it's practiced in many countries around the world by doctors, gastroenterologists and dietitians. So FODMAP itself is a bit of a mouthful to go through the full acronym, but I'll break it down. So the first letter is the F, and that stands for fermentable. And fermentable is kind of describing how all these different carbohydrates, which are the FODMAPs or sugar groups, can affect the gut. They all get fermented in our intestines or in our gut. The other letters are oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides. The A is an and, which is nice and easy, and the P stands for polyols. So they're the different carbohydrates or sugar groups that fall all under the term FODMAP. There's evidence to show that up to about 85% of people with IBS improve significantly by following a low FODMAP diet. But it's a little bit of a complex diet. So the way it works is it's more of a process where you eliminate what's called high FODMAP foods from the diet, and then you gradually reintroduce them back in to identify which of those are the triggers that are setting off these IBS symptoms in people.
And what are some of the common examples of foods that might be high in FODMAP?
Yeah, so we've got some here. So we have some watermelon. Wheat is a big trigger of IBS and it's high in FODMAPs. So the wheat pasta, onion and garlic are two of the really common ones. And then we've got fruits like apples and apricots and pears as well. So quite a lot of foods, but as you can see, there's also quite a lot of low FODMAP foods as well.
So what sort of foods are you going to include in a low FODMAP diet?
Yeah, so you can have oranges, you can have lots of leafy green vegetables, broccoli, sourdough bread, so you don't have to cut out wheat completely. You can have things like popcorn and berries and lots of fruit still, so it is still a good diet where you can include all whole food groups.
So if someone is on a low FODMAP diet, does that mean that all high FODMAP foods are sort of banned? Is it an all or nothing thing, or can you have a bit of everything?
You can have a little bit. So I definitely always say to my clients, it's a low FODMAP diet, it's not a no FODMAP diet. So it's a lot about portion sizes. As you can see, we've got things like broccoli and broccolini here. Now, I wouldn't say you go and have piles of broccoli on your plate on the low FODMAP diet. There's definitely a smaller portion that's recommended to stick to. But in the same way, you can get away with small portions of high FODMAP foods in the scope of a low FODMAP diet.
Oh, anyone that's ever OD'd on broccoli.
No, I was going to
pretty
say.
safe there. Yeah.
There's no risk of me doing that, so that's all fine. Is there any way of being able to tell from the food itself whether it's high or low in FODMAPs?
Not from the food itself, so to speak, but there's a lot of laboratory testing where they test food products, figure out which FODMAP groups they are high in and which FODMAP groups they are low in. So you can't just necessarily go and eat a food and know if it's high or low FODMAP because you might not respond to that FODMAP group. But a lot of the time, if you're eating things like watermelon, onion, garlic, apples and pears, it's worth going to the doctor if you're getting symptoms after eating those foods and figuring out if IBS is the issue that's going on.
So, Rebecca, is there a difference between having a food allergy as such versus a high FODMAP type diet upsetting the gut?
Absolutely. So food allergies can be a bit more serious. Food allergies, you're trying to avoid all food groups altogether. So if it's a wheat allergy, for example, we would be completely wheat-free with zero traces of wheat in the diet, whereas a food intolerance doesn't have such severe consequences and doesn't do damage to the body. So a little bit of food here and there is actually okay to have of the trigger food, but if you want to reduce those symptoms, we might be avoiding the main triggers in the diet.
Rebecca, there's a lot of information there. Is it a complicated diet to get right? Is there any advice you have for us to kick it off in the right way?
Yeah, it can be tricky to get your head around, that's for sure. So usually we recommend to work with a healthcare team. So that would usually involve a doctor and a dietitian that's trained in the low FODMAP diet, just so you get it right from the start, and then you don't have to worry about repeating it or starting all over again. Once you've got the hang of that, there's plenty of apps that can be really useful to follow, like the FODMAP Friendly app, and there's a few certified food products as well that you can pick up and know that they're low FODMAP because they've got a little logo on them, so you don't have to read all the ingredients and try and work it out yourself.
Well, Rebecca, you're in good company here. As we said at the top, we're really passionate about health, and gut health in particular is a really big focus for us on the House of Wellness. So it's great to have your expertise. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I love being a makeup artist and the creativity and the art form. However, what I love most is the fact that we can express our emotions and our confidence all through our makeup. This defined eye makeup look is not complete without using the new Colossal Curl Bounce Mascara. It gives a lasting curl and really opens the eyes. If you love having fun with makeup like me, then you need to enter the Chemist Warehouse and Maybelline competition. Are you ready for it? It's to become the new face of Maybelline New York. All you have to do is purchase Maybelline's new Colossal Curl Bounce Mascara at Chemist Warehouse, either online or in-store, and just hold on to the receipt. Then create an Instagram or TikTok video showcasing those amazing makeup skills and, of course, using the new mascara, along with any of your other Maybelline faves. Make sure you tag Chemist Warehouse Oz and hashtag Maybelline Find the Face to be in the running. This is such a rare opportunity for one lucky winner, and all competition entries will be reviewed by a judging panel, including yours truly. Check out the terms and conditions for full competition details. Good luck, and I cannot wait to see all your makeup creations.
That was Jade K there, not only curling up the volume, but also with a colossal competition. Speaking of competing, Darcy, I've heard you're pretty competitive. Are you a fan of motor racing at all?
I tell you what, I have a great respect for the courage and skill that it takes to get behind a race car. They are seriously impressive athletes.
I actually read that the heart of a Formula One driver usually beats between 140 and 170 times per minute during a race, which shows the incredible performance of the drivers.
Yeah, and considering a race lasts up to 2 hours, Sarah, the pulse rate is up there for the whole time. And no question, the physical and mental stress on performance car drivers is incredibly intense. Just take a look at Drive to Survive, the series on Netflix. If you hadn't seen it, it is just sensational. If you don't love motorsport, you will after watching that. And you get a real taste of how their endurance is such a big part of their athleticism.
A legend of the racetrack is Aussie Supercars champion Will Davison. He's taken out the Bathurst 1000 twice and is looking to repeat that success in 2022. Zoe Bingley-Pullin hitched an adrenaline-filled ride with the Supercars Daredevil.
So excited to be joining supercar driver Will Davison from the Dick Johnson Racing. I'm going to experience the physical skill and mental focus required to drive a car at extreme speeds around a challenging circuit. So, Will, I've been watching you over the last couple of days, and my God, there has been a lot of toll on your body. No cool suit, 40 laps with no water. What does that do to your body?
It is a unique conditioning to drive these cars, and there's nothing you can really do to prepare. Obviously, we do all the work we can in the pre-season to make sure you're fit and strong. Obviously, hydration and nutrition plays a pretty big role, but nothing really prepares you for a pair of 300-kilometre races in quite hot, sticky conditions. You know, the cockpit's often 50+ degrees. So if you have a little hiccup with maybe a cooling system or the fan that we have in our helmet, which not only cools us, but it also has a filter for carbon monoxide, and the hydration, you know, we'll often drink 2, 3, 4 litres in a race. So when that sort of fails, it's not pretty. It's a power of the mind to sort of get your body through what's pretty hard to explain conditions. It's a huge psychological game, and one that always keeps going, you know, depending on what stage of your career you're at, the circumstances and the challenges you're faced with, whether you're on top or whether you're in a bit of a lull, and whether it be a performance psychological game or a maintenance game, which is mid-race, you might be exhausted, and there's always self-talk that comes into it, and it's always playing with your mind, you know, whether it's concentration and maintaining a level, not being, you know, too excited or not being, you know, underdone. Just trying to keep a level head in a very emotional roller coaster kind of an industry.
And emotions do play a big part on performance. What do you do to help to balance your emotions? Do you meditate, surf? What is it?
I mean, honestly, over quite a long career now, I've honestly tried a bit of everything, and there's no magic to it. And yeah, I'm fascinated by psychology. I do understand its importance in game, but it's a tool that if you choose to use in the right way, it's very powerful. Yeah, I've certainly been vulnerable at times to my own mind, and that comes from the passion and the emotion that this sport does bring out. But yeah, you're always riding the waves, and for me, I'm always just trying to make sure I'm as calm as I can be, try and find the odd distraction away from this sport, particularly the longer you do it, just to try and switch off every now and then. And that's for me been, really important to help, keep my career going. And right here now, I still feel as hungry, as nervous as I did the first day I arrived on the scene. So I know I still want it. It's a unique environment. So obviously cardiovascular fitness is important. There's a lot of key muscle groups with the pressure we're applying on the brake and the G-forces we're getting that take its toll on your body, and obviously protection in accidents, but then obviously energy levels and hydration. So there's a numerous amount of things that are important to make sure we're able to make no mistakes, because the level of the sport's very high and any mistake is really costly.
And when it comes to your diet, do you have to focus on sort of a race day diet, or is there a day-to-day will diet that you do?
Yeah, 100%. For me, I certainly have a race day diet. Obviously nerves play games on certain people, and for me, I have to eat quite clean and quite plain on race day, just to keep the nerves and, keep the digestion going. Exactly. So, no, I'm really particular with what I eat on race weekends. Come Sunday night, I can have a big meal, but besides that, it's all pretty clean.
So will anyone who gets behind a car, I think, would have to have an incredible sense of courage. What is it that keeps you addicted to this sport?
It's amazing when you're in the position of driving race cars. It's the last thing you sort of think of. I mean, there are moments, maybe crazy conditions, where you think, well, this is a bit sketchy. But really, the thing that makes you coming back is the challenge that I put within myself. It looks crazy on the outside, but internally, everything's nearly in like slow motion, and it's such a fine art, and there's so many variables day to day, and you never ever feel like you've quite nailed it.
Well, let me just put it this way. You jump in the car thinking it's going to be one thing. You're cruising, like high-intensity G-forces on you, and the wet is like nothing else. You are fishtailing. It's so unpredictable. You literally feel like you're using your survival mechanisms just to anticipate what's coming next. Oh, my God, that was so fun. That was seriously... That was seriously one of the most exhilarating things. Apart from having a child, I reckon that was second to my favourite experience in life. Thank you. Thank you so much, Will. That was awesome. Oh, I want to do it again.
Gone are the days of sacrificing the environment for great skincare or suffering to make a difference. It's now all about looking, feeling and doing good. What I love about the new Etch and Ethos skincare range is their whole philosophy. It's all about natural, ethical and sustainable Australian skincare. The complete range is made up of 94% naturally derived ingredients. The washes are pH balanced and the lotions provide up to 24 hours of moisturisation, supporting the skin's barrier. Now, milk bottles wouldn't be something that you typically associate with skincare, would you? However, they're getting a new lease on life thanks to Etch and Ethos. All packaging is made from 50% recycled milk bottle plastic. That's up to 200,000 milk bottles. The brand is working to divert from Aussie landfill every year. As well as the environment, I'm all about supporting Australian-made and owned businesses. And Etch and Ethos products are made right here in my hometown, Melbourne. We're all busy, but we've already integrated changes into our day-to-day activities. And why not extend that into your beauty and skincare regime? And it's choices like this that are going to impact generations to come.
More and more people are making a concerted effort to check the origins of not just skincare dust, but also food and clothing. The company Ethos is big. How or what is the company doing to help the environment?
Yeah, the approach to consumer buying has certainly changed, that's for sure, Sarah. Now, I want to ask you, what are some of the most important eco practices you've implemented in your businesses?
The biggest thing since we've introduced products to the podcast range has just been to use as many recycled or recyclable products in shipping and packaging as we can, which has made a big difference already.
It's a pretty full life you live, Sarah. You're a business entrepreneur, you're a blogger, you're a podcaster. Is there anything that you can't do?
Well, sleep, Darcy. I'm not great at that.
Well, we've been following that. You're now at the end of week 3 of the 6-week sleep program developed by the military that guarantees you're going to fall asleep in 2 minutes by the end of it. Now, how is it going?
Well, I'm getting better at preparing myself for sleep. There is a guarantee, but I can't say I've got to the 2 minutes just yet. I lay down, I relax every part of my body from head to toe. Then I imagine a warm sensation going down my body and sort of take some really deep breaths, just try and slow my whole body and system down. I visualise a calm scene and then I repeat the words, don't think, for 10 seconds. Can't say it works, but I'm trying.
I nearly fell asleep when you were doing that. Now, what happens at the end of it? Is it sleep?
I'm not quite falling asleep in the 2 minutes yet. I'm halfway there, 3 more weeks to go. I do have high hopes because it's getting shorter every time.
Well, hang in there, Sarah. I have no idea what that must be like because I have no trouble at all getting to sleep. The second my head hits the pillow, it is lights out, which is a good thing. So someone who also enjoys many restful nights' sleep and some quality shut-eye is our master herbalist, Gerald Quigley.
Let's talk about sleep hygiene, which is really re-establishing a sleep routine. Set a time for bed, remembering that each of us has a different time, and try and stick to it. About an hour before, turn off all screens. That's all screens. A cup of tea and a small snack, and a supplement if you're using it. Your bedroom should be quiet and dark and cool. But if you do wake during the night, flip the doona back and the pillow, because when you get back into bed, you go to sleep easier in a cooler bed. The human skin acts as a barrier between inside and outside. It can be therefore affected by environmental factors, things like sunshine, outside irritants, even infection. So many nutrients are involved. The vitamins A, C, D, E, zinc, glucosamine is a nutrient, which shows that what we eat can definitely play a role in our skin health. And don't forget, cleanse and moisturise carefully, morning and night. Rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic issue. Joints get swollen, red, inflamed, really painful. And the medications often can be fairly serious as well, but it's important they are taken according to the directions. We know now that sometimes there are nutritional involvements here with food sensitivities, perhaps to dairy or to wheat or to egg. There are other issues that involve nightshade vegetables like potato, capsicum, tomato. Perhaps reduce them or eliminate them, see if that makes a difference. Consider as well gut health, a probiotic, more fibre in your diet. Simple interventions, but important. And remember that glucosamine is an important nutrient because it helps cartilage production. Get some advice, let's improve your quality of life.
Let's say spaghetti bolognese. Happy. I'd like to fly, I think. Rugby sevens. Oh, I've got so many. I'd say Jess Fox. I'm fangirling on Jess Fox at the moment. That's hard. Secret talent. No, got nothing. Corn chips. Summer. Snakes. Swimming. Probably to go to Greece. Oh. Sailing froth. Hashtag sailing froth. Oh, there's so many. Let's go with, at the moment, anything from Crooked Colours. Probably my Leatherman headphones, my laptop.
You wouldn't have to say your husband. I'm just kidding.
And my husband. My husband? No, my Hobie 16. I've got a banged up Hobie 16 and I love it.
Early in the show, Professor Robert Boyd gave some insight, Sarah, into what we can expect from the influenza, given it's been almost non-existent during COVID.
April is flu vaccination rollout time. The resounding message is to roll up your sleeve and get the flu jab, despite the fact that many of us probably feel a bit vax fatigued. Here's pharmacist Jala Mushi with how and where you can get it.
My prediction for this winter in regards to the flu is that we're going to see many, many more cases. They might even be mixed with COVID. So we're going to see influenza and COVID at the same time in the community. We've been quarantined at home, and for the first time this winter we'll be back out in the community, and that is one of the ways that flu can be transmitted from person to person. But just because COVID has kind of quietened down now, that doesn't mean that we can relax on those hygiene practices. Washing of the hands, sanitising, those are all still very important to reduce our risk of getting flu. One thing you can do to protect yourself and your family from the flu is to get vaccinated. I know we're all feeling a little bit vaccine fatigued and feeling vaxxed out, but it is still so important to make sure that we're accessing our flu vaccine, because it will reduce the likelihood of you getting the flu, but also the severity of your symptoms. You can access your flu vaccine from your local Chemist Warehouse pharmacist. You can book online, chemistwarehouse.com.au/flu. It's not much to pay for your health.
Well, that's all for our show today. Sarah, it's been great to spend the day with you again.
It's always fun, Das. I try to keep on top of everything to do with wellness, and you guys can too. Look out for the Autumn magazine with entrepreneur Elle Ferguson on the cover.
Remember to tune into the House of Wellness radio show on Sunday with Joe Stanley and Gerald Quigley. And as always, thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you again soon.
There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire. Like a bright shining light. Getting more out of life. Sharing time with friends.